this episode, you'll get a breakdown of the quote: "A master has failed more times than a beginner has even tried." Welcome to Energy Alignment for Entrepreneurs, the podcast helping entrepreneurs be free from anxiety, stress, and tension through balancing emotions and consciousness expansion. Here's 3 things that you'll learn today. Number 1, how failure becomes your greatest teacher. Number 2, why perfectionism prevents mastery. And number 3, what to do when you're paralyzed by the fear of failing. Okay, let's look at the quote. A master has failed more times than a beginner has even tried. And immediately what jumps out at me is that you are being invited through failure to get to a level of mastery. When you say that you're going to try something, there's 2 ways of looking at this. Number 1 is having the courage to say, you know what? I'm not going to be swallowed by fear, insecurity, thoughts of what others will think of me, etc. But I am going to give it my best, right? And that's where point number 2 is beginning, where the word "I'm going to try" is something I don't say nor think at all. It's like, no, I'm going to do this to the best of my capacity, the best that I possibly can, and hey, that's what's going to happen. So to be courageous is one of the big points that speaks to me from this quote. You have to have the courage, the strength, not the self-belief, but the freedom from self-sabotage, which is thinking that you need to be perfect. The self-sabotage prevents you from having the courage to step forward. So the beauty is feeling that fear, feeling that insecurity, and saying, you know what? I'm still going to step forward because this courage is in me. And I know what it feels like to ask what if, because in the past, but for you as well, think about it. The sting of being rejected or failing is only a moment, but the pain of asking what if, the pain of living small and then asking, what if I had done that? What if I had bet on myself? What if I had gone all in? What if I had listened to my heart? That will stay with you forever. So you're much more likely to have a beautiful life if you feel your fear and still walk through it with courage, right? I bring this up a lot, but this is why King Arthur had the knights go into the darkest part of the forest. You just have to be able to look the darkness in its eyes and see that there's a smile within the darkness, that there is a godly invitation within facing your own darkness. It's the alchemy, the transmutation. I was listening to a little bit of, I think they call it the Emerald Tablets, but the bottom line is the name, the author, it's all irrelevant. The truth has been with us forever, beyond time. If you really consider Egypt, just in your heart, even consider things like Atlantis. Don't go too far into thinking, researching. You don't need all this evidence when the book of truth is already written on your heart, on your soul. The art is learning how to read the book which is unwritten. Basically, it's communicated in a form which is beyond words. So therefore, why do people like Jesus and other teachers, if you will, use parables, metaphors, ways of hinting at that which can only be unlocked via your own spirit, right? If I tell you do this step 1, simple language, straightforward, sure, I could teach you how to do masonry, or I could teach you how to be a carpenter, or I could teach you how to replace the brakes on your car, teach you how to tie a certain knot, teach you how to do a specific choke in jiu-jitsu, right? So all of that is necessary in life, but at the same time, see, this is the balance. Too much right brain, you're lost. Too much left brain, you have no spirit, no fuel. So there needs to be this dynamic, this balance between right and left, dark and light, where you go through the darkness, you transmute it to light. It's not like, see, that's the thing with overly optimistic people or quote unquote false light people, is they talk about things because they think they know it, and then they put themselves in a standpoint of, I have this role of being the teacher. I know things. You don't know these things. That is not how a real teacher teaches. That is a false teacher. When you feel any essence of they are attached to their authority. And this is the problem with common therapists, right? Because you get employed, but you do that work for money, right? And of course, so this is a intricate balance. I'm getting a little off topic. I'll wrap it up very soon. Ultimately, you need to see that there are ways to make money to be of service to others. But if your sole motive is to make money, then you find yourself attached to the role of being the therapist. And then that means you have to always, your clients need to always have problems. Else, what happens when they are their own therapist? Then you are not of service anymore, right? The way that I share is that I understand that you are to be your own doctor, your own light. You have the book of truth written within you. All that I'm sharing here is the nuggets, the hints, the little shifts, the curves, so you can better understand how to listen to your own intelligence. See, that for me is a huge point. Now, let's look at number one, how failure becomes your greatest teacher. And I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's like your stumbling blocks become the stairs. You need to learn how to fall and pick yourself up because no one else can do this for you. Sure, someone can offer you a shoulder to cry on, someone can offer you advice, but no one can actually do the alchemy within your vessel, the energetic transmutation of emotional turmoil and trapped darkness. Uh, no one can do that for you. You have to take that sole responsibility and accountability for the energy, the ripple effects that you create as you walk through this life, as you throw that rock into the pond. As you speak your voice, you are creating vibrations. As you throw the rock into the pond, the water ripples. So on and so forth. Abracadabra means that I create as I speak. So if you are living this life with real intention, that means that you have awareness of your thoughts because your thoughts become your words, and your words, if abracadabra may be true, that means your words are creating your life. The only way you can have a real awareness of what you're sowing, the seeds, is to take it back a notch, subtract, and start to notice the consciousness, because the consciousness creates the thoughts. And then you can learn to subtract, to let go, to see through the thoughts, right? And then when God sends you a powerful wave, a tsunami, you learn how to ride that energy, how to change, how to work with the elements, how to be adaptable, flexible, dynamic, how to be like water. Water can crash, water can be gentle, right? Water can destroy, and it is also a life source. Same thing with the sun and the light. So you have to get good at learning about this alchemy. Now, point number two, why perfectionism prevents mastery. It's as if we'll go down to the practicality, the rule, the 80-20. There's two ways I'd like to look at this. First way is that 20% of the work is going to generate 80% of the results. So you do not need to be perfect. You need to go all in on the things which are that 20%. For me, it's like, all right, if I don't do work, I go insane. But if I don't prioritize health, recovery, sleep, the fundamentals, fresh air, then I go insane. So, what do you do with that, right? So then you can see, all right, the fundamentals and the deep work. For me, that's the podcast, the YouTube, the business, the ads, the AI work, etc. For you, whatever your niche is, whatever entrepreneurial endeavor you're doing, the details, the content may shift, but the structure remains true. And the other way of looking at the 80-20 rule is that You want to simplify your life to not be obsessive with 100%. There's this saying that from 0 to 90 is just as much of effort from 90 to 100. So if you get 90 and 95s on a lot of things, that's all right. You don't need to get 100% like perfect because that just slows you down from the 20% of things that matter most. It confuses you. But when you keep that mentality of, all right, there's going to be 20% of things that matter the most, and I'm not going to obsess over doing those 20% things 100%. I'm going to do those 90, 95, because that last amount of effort to go from 90 or 95 to 100, it's not even worth your time until you really feel that you have the time and space to really, really, really go all in. But depending on your age, your season, your circumstance, the cards you were dealt, your climate, your culture, you're going to have to learn how to be malleable, how to not fit in, but how to play roles. You have to play roles in life. The thing that you learn through playing roles is that you are not any certain role, right? At home, you may have certain people treating you a certain way. At work, they may treat you other ways. You cannot be attached to always being one personality. So, point number 3, what to do when you're paralyzed by the fear of failing. And this really, number 1, it's extremely valuable to admit, to notice that you are thinking in line with fear. If you really sit and take time to be present while that fear is arising, while it is moving through you, then you can see that the fear is almost always attached to shallow things. One example could be, what if she sees me this way, right? Or, and the structure is, what if, and then you insert things I can't control. That is the structure. The fear is almost always going to come from what if and then things you can't control. What's the list of things you can't control? Other people, how other people treat you, how other people act, the things other people say to you, the way people drive. The list goes on, the economy, the news. But then when you get rid of what if things you can't control, then you look at, all right, what are the things that are in my power? Then you go back to simple fundamentals, right? And then you stop worrying, you stop placing your attention on things you can't control because you see the direct correlation between that attention and the fear, the insecurity, the anxiety, the overthinking, and the stress that is all created within you when you place your attention outward in that manner. Now, the thing is, this is why surrender is important because you are where you're meant to be. The hard part about that is accepting and saying and really feeling, oh, wait, all right, if I'm where I'm meant to be, what am I supposed to be learning in this current season, right? Rather than saying, I wish this, or what if I had done this in the past and then I'd be here? No, you're where you're meant to be. Stop resisting that and start learning from being present in the moment each day, because when you live present, then you'll get insight, you'll get intuition, and you'll be able to discern and decipher God's message, which is spoken through the heart, the gut, and the symbiosis of energy, right? And this is where the word alchemy comes in, because you have energy and you are the only one who can transmute and change what is present within your temple, or in other words, your vessel. So if any of this seems complicated, it is and it isn't. The complicated thing is thinking too much about what I'm saying. The simple and godly thing that you can do is to simply listen to what is being created in your being, in your heart, your gut, your mind, while listening to these words. Because it's not that I am someone who only speaks truth, rather, that these words are coming from a place in which I am irrelevant. I'm not doing this for me. And I said this in a recent episode. Sure, I could make money from these podcasts. That doesn't mean the reason I sit down and speak is to make money. And it also doesn't mean that I'm sitting here thinking about how can I use my words in a way to make them give me money. Like, I'm just sharing that with you because I think it's extremely important to notice why you do what you do, right? Part of life is making money. Part of life is providing, paying bills, taking care of others, working hard, learning new skills, increasing your income, dot, 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 right? So let's hop into the recap. I've been hesitant with the recaps, but honestly, the way that I speak, I think it is good to have some recaps. Number one, how failure becomes your greatest teacher. Every failure contains information that success can't provide. That is so true. And failure shows you what doesn't work, so you can find what does work. Masters aren't people who never fail, they're people who fail forward. Sit with that. Now, number two, why perfectionism prevents mastery. Perfectionism keeps you from starting because you can't guarantee the outcome. A lot of people I've noticed, even my boss specifically, he will sometimes throw little shots at me about my uncertainty. And that is in the context of I won't give him a commitment. I won't give him a 5 or 10 year commitment because I would be lying. That would be silly to act as if, hey, I'm just going to tie myself down and write a contract so I can't leave even if my heart or the world provides me with different, newer, more aligned opportunities. So people are going to have a problem with your uncertainty. That's okay because in uncertainty, you learn that God communicates to you. And you start to see, wait, so even the people who don't like your uncertainty, are you are one with them. So you use your own energy to help others change and you don't force the change. I'm not attached to my boss saying, "Hey, Justin, your uncertainty actually taught me a lot." Like he doesn't need to say that to me. You know what I mean? I'm not living in alignment for external validation. Now, I just felt that was a good example or story to share. Um, but perfectionism keeps you from starting because you can't guarantee the outcome, and you'd rather do nothing perfectly than something imperfectly. See, that's the trap of perfectionism. You need to do things imperfectly to get to a point of perfection. Perfectionism is fear wearing a suit. Now, number three, what to do when you're paralyzed by the fear of failing. Redefine failure as data collection. It's a good perspective, a little bit scientific. And start before you're ready. There's never going to be this perfect moment of, oh yeah, I'm ready. Like SpongeBob. Like, no, you just have to start. And I know that can be hard, so make it simple. That's why I go always back to fundamentals, fresh air, exercise, nutrition, sleep, stretching, recovery, balance, hard work. And embrace being bad at things as the price of admission to being good at them. Failure isn't the opposite of success, it's the path to it. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if you would like, or email me. First of all, if you have any future topics or questions, I'd love to answer them. Number two is we got new episodes every Monday, Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And besides that, just check the description. There's a few things in there, and you can hop on the email list. So I'm putting out great emails. They're pretty much distillations of these episodes, just in a shorter written format. And besides that, if you want to get into amazing shape, I've been in amazing shape for a long time, over 10 years. And I just feel it's about time to put out basically what I've done is I have a very cheap low ticket product that anyone can go through, and it gives you the cornerstones, the structures, the foundations, everything I've really learned. The 20% that gets you 80% of the results in terms of physical health and muscle building and creating a proportional physique, something like the Greek gods. So enjoy your day, share it with a friend. If you have someone, anyone whom you think would resonate with this, share it with them. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.